Hi y'all, welcome back to the channel. I'm Darla, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing some basic information on how I fertilize the palm trees and ornamentals in my landscape. Y'all, that's why I started this channel. This is going to be a video that's just going to be sharing some basic things that I have learned over the years on properly fertilizing your ornamentals and if you have palm trees in your landscape. Years ago, Robin and I decided that we wanted a tropical oasis in our front yard and in our backyard as well. And we started out by just, basically ripping everything clean. As a matter of fact, if I can find some pictures, I'm going to pop them up on the screen to show you how much we actually wiped out. I mean, we just basically wiped out this whole entire front yard and we just got a fresh start. And we just started, placing palm trees and, just a lot of beautiful ornamentals, all around. As a matter of fact, if you can see, just a little bit actually, some of the things that are in my landscape as far as the palm trees are concerned. I have a number of different varieties. I have queen palm trees, which are actually right back here. They are quite beautiful. I've also got some foxtails, which that would be back in here. And then over behind the camera, I have some spindles and I have some arecas. I have some adonedias. You get the picture. I love palm trees. So by planting all those palm trees, I knew, Robin and I both knew that, we were going to have to make sure that, we cared for them properly. And so, I've always done, lots of research, when it comes to, growing things and, how to take care of them. But I found an incredible website. It's been a couple of years ago. I kind of was turned on to it. It's the University of Florida here in Florida. And the website, as a matter of fact, I'm going to pop it up on the screen so that way you can see it. I took like a screenshot of it. It is the IFAS, which is the Institute for Food and Agricultural Services. Y'all, it is a terrific resource to be able to go to learn a lot of things about a lot of different things. When it comes to, gardening and, the proper fertilization, proper insecticides, I mean, you name it. I have just developed, just a lot of good information on that website. Needless to say, I'm on it a lot. But here recently, I have learned a little bit more when it came to fertilizing, the things on my property. And currently, I shouldn't say currently, up until just recently, I have been using, a fertilizer that isn't a bad fertilizer. And I want to put that out there. It's not that it's a bad fertilizer. It's just this bag of fertilizer, or these bags of fertilizers that I've been using, they just really are not, they're just not the whole shebang. This bag of fertilizer is lacking in a lot of areas. There was some strengths, and in the beginning when I started taking care of the landscape, I was thinking, okay, this is great, because one of the main reasons, these queen palm trees that I have back here, we bought them from a local nursery, and that nursery was selling this particular brand of fertilizer, and they heavily endorsed it. As a matter of fact, these queen palms, when they put them in for us, they fertilized them very heavily with that, fertilizer. And of course, I watered it on really well. And really and truly, y'all, my, the ornamentals and all of the palm trees that I have on the property, they've all been doing very well. I do have some small deficiencies here and there, but for the most part, it's been okay. But I do notice that I'm getting, from season to season, or year to year, I should say, I've been getting more along the lines of some potassium deficiencies. Now, the potassium deficiencies, it's that speckling that you get on the leaves. If I can find some pictures, I'm going to pop it up on the screen just to show you what potassium. There's a lot of times potassium and magnesium deficiencies kind of cross over, but I think mine are pretty much more along the lines of a potassium deficiency based on the research that I've done. But anyway, I've got a little bit of that going on with my adonedias and my spindle palms. And so I've been kind of researching a little bit, and I have found, some better, some gooder. Yeah, what kind of word is that? I have found a better fertilizer, and it's a fertilizer that seems to be checking off all of the boxes when it comes to the things that are really super important to be looking for when it comes to fertilizing, you know, all of the things in your landscape. Now, I don't want to get technical and crazy on you guys, because let's face it, we're all just everyday simple, you know, homeowners, gardeners, that we just like to, you know, piddle in our yard, and we like things to look beautiful. So I don't want to get too technical, because even myself, I don't like to get too crazy technical. I just like to know, you know, the key reasons, you know, maybe some minor specifics or whatever, to be able to implement in my everyday gardening. And so I figured I could go ahead and just kind of, you know, share that information with you guys, to show you what, you know, what works, what doesn't work, maybe some improvements along the way, and you know, kind of go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to walk over here to the bag of fertilizer that I have been using up until just recently. I'm feeling a little bit of raindrops. This is actually quite nice. I like that. But anyway, I'm going to finish this video before it rains on me. But I'm going to walk over to this bag of fertilizer. And like I said, this bag of fertilizer, I want to show you why it drew me to using it to begin with. Obviously, the nursery recommended it, but you know, the reason why I felt that it was a good fertilizer. And then after a little bit more research, realizing that maybe it just wasn't the best fertilizer for me to use. So let's go ahead and turn the camera around. Okay, I'm going to put this up on my lap here, and I'm going to point the camera, and I'm going to try to hone in here to where you guys can see this, and I'm hoping it's not going to be blurry. It looks like it's pretty clear in my camera here. So let's move over to the center here. Now this brand is a Palm Game brand, and it's a formula of 8212. Now basically, in a nutshell, y'all, those three numbers, what they represent, for any of those of you who do not know what those numbers are, that is a nitrogen, it is a phosphorus, and it is a potassium. Those are three very important numbers in any bag of fertilizer, but those three numbers are even more important when it comes to fertilizing palm trees. And the reason I am saying that is because after going into that website, or the IFAS website, the University of Florida's website, I have come to read and understand that a professor, a retired professor named Timothy Brochat, and I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly, he actually did extensive research on, you know, fertilizing your palm trees, and they came to the understanding that this ratio of 8-2-12 was the best blend when it came to fertilizing palm trees, and most ornamentals for that matter. But even more importantly than just, or I shouldn't say even more, but as important as those three numbers right there, the 8-2-12 formula, you also want to make sure that your fertilizer is a time-controlled fertilizer. And y'all, what I mean by that is you want to find a fertilizer that actually, let me show you here. If you go down on this bag where it says derived from, which is going to be right here, you're going to look for things that say polymer coated. Now, what polymer coated is, in a nutshell, it means that particular nutrient is a time-controlled nutrient. Now, this particular bag, like I said, while it wasn't a bad bag of fertilizer, it only had 100% time controlled on the nitrogen. That was the only polymer coated nutrient in this whole entire bag. And I thought, okay, wow, that's really not good. Now, it does have the micronutrients, which that is a good thing. Like if you look down here, it does have on the front of the bag, it does have the magnesium, the iron, and the sulfur, and it even has, actually flipping the bag back around, it even has what's really, another really important mineral is, let me find it, where's that? Boron, right here. That is another one that's really, really important that you want to make sure that is listed in your micronutrients. But again, I've been using this fertilizer for a number of years, and it's not that it's a bad fertilizer, but after researching a little bit more, I have come to the understanding that you want to find a fertilizer that has this polymer coated right here. Let me find my finger. There is that polymer coated sulfur that polymer coated. You want a bag of fertilizer that stipulates all three of the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. You want to make sure that those are all polymer coated, because what happens, y'all, especially in my sandy soils, I'm going to flip this camera back around, especially in my sandy soil here in South Florida, what happens is anything that we're putting into that soil basically just leaches right through, especially if it's a water soluble. So I want to be able to use 100% time controlled fertilizers to be able to hang out in that soil as long as possible. Because what happens is when you're putting that time controlled on your landscape ornamentals and palm trees, in my case, when you're putting that on there, anytime that we get a rain, which it kind of left, but anytime you're getting a rain or you're irrigating your lawn, it releases that fertilizer a little bit at a time, which is good because it's continually feeding your ornamentals and your palm trees. And that is really and truly what keeps things from getting nutrient deficient. Now, there are things that I use, like for example, I have planted recently some sun patience in our walkway. I use a water soluble on that, a bloom booster or whatever, and I usually do that like weekly. But I find that even on that fertilizer that I just showed you, that nitrogen, that time release nitrogen, I sprinkle that a little bit around those sun patience or whatever, and the leaves on them are just absolutely terrifically green, really super green. And so that's telling me that that nitrogen is staying in that, because it is polymer coated, it's staying in that soil for a hot minute, which is really, really good. Now, like I said, I recently realized that I needed to find a fertilizer that had all of those elements in a time-controlled granular fertilizer. So what I did was I started, just pounding the pavement and going to my local nurseries and just basically inquiring. And I found what I find to be a really, really good fertilizer. It checked all of the boxes when it came to time controlled. Let me walk you over and show you that. Okay, I walked over here because this is a 50-pound bag that I purchased and I just plopped it down. But I'm gonna hone in again on this bag of fertilizer. Now, this one again, we've got some really important numbers, 8 to 12, because we know that as palm blends go, this is a terrific blend according to the University of Florida's website. But even, or just as important now, if you go down and you look at, I'm going to get this to focus in really well, if you go down and you start looking at all of the ingredients, and obviously the nitrogen and the phosphate and the potassium, you want to obviously make sure it has all three of those. But when you go down and you start looking at the derived from, what do you see? You see polymer coated. That again is absolutely wonderful. Now, when I was at the nursery, I was going through and I was just reading along all of these, all three of these, those three numbers right there, the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potassium. I was just reading along and I got to a key component down here. And I saw right here that all of these things, the ammonium nitrate, the ammonium phosphate, the calcium phosphate, the ammonium phosphate, potassium, scrolling over, sulfate, and sulfate of potash, magnesia, they have been polymer coated. That checked the box that I have been missing. So y'all, all three of those elements right here, the nitrogen, the phosphate, and it's potash, but it's the potassium, K is potassium, all three of those numbers right there are in a time-controlled release formula. And that was the cat's meow for me. I thought you just can't get any better than that. And again, now this has all of the micronutrients as well. And that is very, very important because you definitely want to make sure that you are getting all of those things. And I'll show you down here where it says we've got the magnesium and sulfur, boron, copper, iron, manganese, and zinc. those are your micronutrient elements that you definitely want to make sure that are in this blend right here. So I'm going to turn the camera back around. That is that was just, when I saw that bag of fertilizer, and I, because I had been reading and reading and reading on all these different bags from the nurseries that I was going to, and just taking that little bit of information that I had from that that University of Florida's website and looking for that, I was thrilled to death to be able to find it. And so that is what I'm going to be using from this point forward. And I cannot wait to open the bag and start fertilizing my palm trees and all of my ornamentals. It'll be due here actually very shortly, because again, I go about, anywhere from 3 to 4 times a year. We are, very, very warm and humid here. And so most of the things, or pretty much all the things in the landscape grow, virtually year round. We do have some slowing times, obviously, in our winter months because we do get cold here. But we don't get freezes or anything like that as a general rule. But you guys, I hope that I didn't confuse you. I hope that it was just something very, very simple that will show you guys what to look for. You want to definitely lean in on a fertilizer bag that has a polymer coated. That's going to be one of the key things you're going to look for, because that's telling you that it's going to be a time controlled formula that's going to hang out in your soil, and whether you have sandy soil or not, it's going to hang there, and it's going to do its job. It's going to go up in the system of whatever plants that you're putting that on. In my case, my tropical ornamentals and my palm trees. And just to kind of go back a little bit, palm trees here in South Florida, we have a lot of magnesium, we have a lot of potassium deficiencies, and so for me it's just going to be really, really super important to make sure that I'm using stuff like that. But back to the bag of fertilizer, also making sure that it's an 8-2-12 formula, because again, that website that that I've gotten all this information from, it definitely suggests, well, actually it recommends, I shouldn't say suggests, it recommends utilizing an 8-2-12 formula, because it's the best blend that they've come up with when it comes to really giving your your palm trees, your ornamentals, your landscape plants the best as far as nutritional value is concerned. And then also making sure that you're looking for those micronutrients as well, because we have boron deficiencies as well, and you certainly don't want your palm trees to look like a frizzle top, because it surely isn't very nice. But anyway, you guys, I hope that you found this this video to be informational. Like I said, that I didn't bore you too much with a lot of minute details that really aren't really important, just some key elements or whatever. And definitely, drop a comment to me and let me know what you thought, and some of the things that you guys are using, maybe some suggestions as to what you're finding out there too, as far as fertilizers are concerned, and what's worked for you. And I will look forward to those comments. And again, if you are enjoying this video, I sure would appreciate a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, definitely click on that subscribe button, and we'll just plan on seeing you guys in the next video. Bye for now.